You've probably heard of regenerative agriculture, but do you really understand what it means? Many people confuse the term. Others reduce the idea to a few scattered techniques, and most have never heard the true definition. While soil is dying, the climate is collapsing, and biodiversity is vanishing, we keep insisting on models that exhaust the earth. The question is there a way to produce food that doesn't destroy, but regenerates? The answer is in this video. But pay attention. What you're about to discover goes far beyond traditional definitions. Get ready to finally understand what regenerative agriculture truly is. And by the end of this video, you'll see agriculture with new eyes, maybe even with more hope. Regenerative agriculture is an innovative and transformative approach to food production that goes beyond sustainability. Instead of simply preserving what's left of natural resources, it seeks to regenerate, restore, and revitalize agricultural ecosystems, placing soil life, biodiversity, and natural cycles at the heart of the production system. This approach has gained prominence in recent decades by offering practical and effective solutions to the challenges of environmental degradation, soil fertility loss, climate change, and the vulnerability of rural communities. Although the concept is still evolving, some institutions and scholars have already proposed solid definitions of what regenerative agriculture is. The Rodale Institute, USA, a pioneer in the use of the term, defines regenerative agriculture as a farming system that improves the resources it uses, rather than destroying or depleting them. This definition is based on the understanding that soil should not merely be a medium for production, but a living organism capable of sustaining life when managed with intelligence and respect. Terra Genesis International, a regenerative design group, expands this vision by stating, regenerative agriculture is any kind of farming that simultaneously improves ecosystems and society as a whole. In addition, scientific articles and academic publications often describe regenerative agriculture as a set of farming practices grounded in ecological principles, focusing on rebuilding soil health, increasing functional biodiversity, and strengthening the resilience of farming systems. These definitions point to a growing consensus. Regenerative agriculture is not limited to a fixed set of techniques, but is a dynamic and adaptable paradigm, guided by tangible ecological and social outcomes. The term regenerative agriculture was coined and popularized by the Rodale Institute in the United States beginning in the 1980s under the leadership of J.I. Rodale and later, his son Robert Rodale. Robert Rodale was the one who most deeply articulated the idea that agriculture should go beyond poison-free, organic production and activate regenerative processes within agricultural ecosystems. He saw regenerative agriculture as the next stage of organic farming, aiming to reverse the environmental degradation caused by conventional practices. The goal was clear: to develop a farming system that is ecologically restorative, economically viable, and socially just, and that could help tackle major global challenges such as soil erosion, climate change, biodiversity loss, and food insecurity. Since then, the concept has been expanded by researchers, farmers, agroecological movements, and more recently, by companies concerned with traceability and the environmental impact of their supply chains. Regenerative agriculture, therefore, is not just a collection of sustainable techniques. It is a new vision for agriculture, one that seeks to restore balance between nature and human production, putting regeneration at the core of all agricultural activity. Regenerative agriculture goes beyond traditional and even organic farming. It proposes a profound transformation in the way we grow food, viewing agriculture as a tool for ecosystem healing, climate resilience, and social justice. To guide this transformation, the Rodale Institute, one of the pioneers of regenerative agriculture worldwide, developed a set of values known as the 7 Regenerative Principles. These principles serve as ethical and operational guides for farmers, consumers, and policymakers along the path of regeneration. The first principle is pluralism. Regeneration is born from diversity of plants, animals, cultures, ideas, and practices. The second principle is protection, emphasizing care for soil, water, biodiversity, and human beings. It includes protecting natural areas and ecological corridors. The third principle is purity, ensuring that production is not contaminated by pesticides, GMOs, synthetic hormones, or other substances that harm the environment, human health, and consumer trust. The fourth principle is permanence. While conventional agriculture relies on short cycles and immediate profits, regenerative agriculture cultivates permanence. The idea that farming systems should be long-lasting, resilient, and beneficial in the long term. The fifth principle is peace, recognizing that true regeneration cannot occur in contexts of conflict, inequality, or exploitation. The sixth principle is potential. Regeneration begins with recognizing the innate potential of each ecosystem, community, and farmer. The seventh principle is progress, not referring to economic growth at any cost, but to the continuous evolution of farming systems toward more life, more balance, and more justice. The 7 principles of regenerative agriculture, according to the Rodale Institute, are not a rigid rulebook, but living guidelines. They help preserve the integrity of the regenerative mission in the face of attempts to reduce it to a market trend or a checklist of isolated techniques. Applying these principles is an invitation to transform agriculture into a healing force for the planet, capable of restoring what has been lost and building what doesn't yet exist, a truly abundant future for all. Regenerative agriculture shares some similarities with other sustainable farming systems, such as organic farming and agroecology. However, it distinguishes itself through its emphasis on the active regeneration of ecosystems, going beyond mere conservation or impact reduction. To better understand this difference, it is essential to compare it with the two most common models: conventional agriculture and organic agriculture. Conventional agriculture, also known as industrial agriculture, is the dominant model in the modern world. Its primary focus is high productivity and economic efficiency, typically achieved through heavy mechanization, the use of synthetic fertilizers, chemical pesticides, genetically modified seeds, GMOs, and large-scale monocultures. Despite its ability to produce large volumes of food, conventional agriculture has been largely responsible for negative environmental impacts such as soil erosion, biodiversity loss, climate change, and water crises. Organic agriculture emerged as a response to the damage caused by conventional farming. It prohibits the use of pesticides, synthetic fertilizers, and GMOs, promoting the use of organic compost, biological pest control, crop rotation, and practices more integrated with the environment. However, while organic farming represents a significant step forward, its focus is still primarily on reducing negative impacts, not necessarily on actively regenerating degraded systems. Regenerative agriculture, on the other hand, doesn't just avoid harm, it reverses the damage already done. Its goal is not only to maintain natural resources in balance, but to restore, strengthen, and make them thrive again. Soil is viewed as a living being that must be constantly nourished and protected. Biodiversity is not merely tolerated, but celebrated as the engine of productivity. And farmers are not just food producers, they are agents of ecological and social healing. Regenerative agriculture is both purposeful and restorative. It is based on the belief that food production can and should be a positive force for the planet. In contrast to extractive logic, which takes and depletes, regenerative logic gives back, nourishes, and strengthens. Its strength lies in its vision of the future, where natural abundance is built day by day, through a deep respect for life in all its forms. Now, let's look at some key benefits of regenerative agriculture. The climate crisis and the degradation of ecosystems are two of the greatest challenges of our time, and agriculture plays a central role in both. Conventional farming models based on monocultures, heavy chemical use, and soil degradation are among the main contributors to greenhouse gas emissions, biodiversity loss, and the collapse of ecosystem services. Regenerative agriculture emerges as a transformative response to this reality. More than minimizing environmental impacts, it has the potential to reverse damage and restore natural cycles, offering a new vision for the future of food production. One of the primary climate benefits of regenerative agriculture is its ability to capture carbon from the atmosphere and store it in the soil. This process, known as carbon sequestration, occurs naturally when plants perform photosynthesis, absorb CO2, and send part of it into the soil through their roots. Studies show that well-managed soils can sequester between 1 and 5 tons of CO2 per hectare per year, depending on the climate, soil type, and adopted practices. Regenerative agriculture also contributes to restoring the water cycle and enhancing climate resilience. By improving soil structure and increasing infiltration capacity, regenerative practices help restore the local hydrological cycle. Healthy soils act like sponges, retaining rainwater and slowly releasing it to plants and aquifers. This makes the entire system more resilient to extreme events such as droughts and floods, which are becoming more frequent due to climate change. Another benefit of regenerative agriculture is the recovery of biodiversity, both above and below ground. This biodiversity is one of the main pillars of ecological resilience. Regenerative agriculture promotes life-rich environments, creating niches for plants, insects, microorganisms, birds, and other animals. In addition to carbon and water, regenerative agriculture helps restore nutrient cycles, such as nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Instead of relying on synthetic fertilizers, which pollute water sources and emit nitrous oxide, a potent greenhouse gas, regenerative systems use strategies such as composting, green manure, and organic matter management. This significantly reduces the environmental footprint of food production, creating a more closed and efficient nutrient cycle. Overall, regenerative agriculture reduces the ecological footprint of agriculture. By restoring soil, water, air, and biodiversity, it reconnects agriculture with the Earth's natural rhythms. It proves that it is possible to produce food abundantly while regenerating the planet. At a time in history when agriculture is often seen as part of the climate problem, regenerative agriculture stands out as part of the solution, a living, tangible, and hope-filled solution. Regenerative agriculture is not a fixed model, but a flexible set of practices. These practices share a common goal: to regenerate soil, restore ecological cycles, and promote more resilient and abundant agricultural systems. They may vary depending on climate, soil type, local resources, and the farmer's objectives, but they all share one key principle: work with nature, not against it. Some of the most applied and effective regenerative practices include cover crops, composting, integrated crop livestock forestry systems, no-till or minimal tillage, managed grazing and holistic pasture management, polycultures and crop mixtures, agroforestry systems. The beauty of regenerative agriculture lies in the flexibility to adapt these practices to the reality of each farmer or community. There is no rigid technical package, but rather a set of living tools that can be creatively combined according to local conditions and goals. More than a technique, regeneration is an attitude toward the land. It's a choice to farm in a way that leaves soil healthier, water cleaner, biodiversity richer, and community stronger. Despite growing global recognition of regenerative agriculture as a powerful approach to restoring soils, ecosystems, and communities, there is still no single, official, and universally accepted definition. This is not a weakness of the concept, quite the opposite. It's a sign of its vitality, diversity, and ability to adapt to the planet's many realities. Regenerative agriculture is not a closed technique, nor a one-size-fits-all model. It is an applied philosophy, a set of living principles expressed in diverse ways depending on the ecological, cultural, social, and economic context of each region. Regenerative agriculture is constantly evolving because it is, by nature, a living concept. Just like fertile soil is always moving, growing, and adapting, so too does regeneration reinvent itself with every new practice, place, and person who brings it to life. Its strength lies precisely in its creative flexibility and its ability to inspire local solutions with global impact. Instead of seeking a final definition, the real challenge is to preserve the integrity of the regenerative purpose, restoring life in all its forms. Now you know, the true regenerative agriculture definition can't be summed up in a short sentence. It is alive, deep, and constantly evolving. More than a method, it's a new way of being on Earth. An agriculture that heals, that regenerates, that transforms. The promise is no small one, but it is real. To grow food while restoring the planet. And that question we asked at the very beginning, is it possible to farm without destroying? Now has a clear answer. Yes, it is possible. And it starts with regeneration. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment sharing your thoughts on this content, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any updates on regenerative agriculture, agroforestry, and organic farming. Up next, I'll share a video about the 7 principles of regenerative agriculture, where I'll walk you through how these principles can be applied in practice. See you soon. Let's move towards a bountiful Earth.